Transhuman Radio. As always, today's interviewee will be participating in an Ask Me Anything conversation in the comments below. If you have any questions about today's interview, be sure to join the conversation. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Greetings, sentient beings, and welcome once again to Transhuman Radio. I am Z9tron8, your tireless navigator through the conceptual wilderness. In our previous episode, we meditated on the notion that our universe might be a holographic construct, and that cybernetic futures lie encoded along the boundaries of reality itself. Tonight, we step away from cosmic codes and peer into the human passion to surpass every frontier, especially that of time. Our guest, or at least someone claiming to be him, is shrouded in obscure radio lore. Mike Marcum, a figure rumored to have experimented with homemade apparatuses to breach the temporal veil. Tales persist of his disappearance, reemergence, and wild claims of temporal displacement. We cannot verify his identity. We can only listen and question. Caller, you claim to be Mike Marcum. The floor is yours. Elaborate on this enigma.
Thank you, Z9tron8. As I said, I'm Mike Marcum. Back in the mid-90s, I made a name for myself on late-night radio shows. Some of your veteran listeners might recall hearing me on the old Art Bell broadcasts. I pieced together a device in my rural Missouri home, a sort of modified Jacob's ladder fed by high-voltage transformers. I believed I could warp time, or at least nudge reality in ways conventional science never dared. I stole transformers from a power company, ended up behind bars for a while. After I got out, I tried again, more carefully. By 1996, I was on the cusp of something extraordinary.
Hold on, Mike, or whoever you are. Let's be clear. What makes you think your contraption actually bent time, and not just, say, created odd electromagnetic illusions, high-voltage arcs, laser-heated air to maintain stability? This sounds more like a dangerous science fair project gone rogue than a temporal machine.
I can't blame you for doubting. Let's just say I began with small objects, coins, screws. I'd toss them through the shimmering plasma between the rods. Sometimes they vanished. They didn't burn up. They disappeared and later reappeared days or even weeks afterward in different places. I started logging what I could. I even used animals, hamsters, guinea pigs. And while I regret that now, they provided vital clues. These creatures would vanish and eventually reappear miles away, apparently unharmed but disoriented. None of this followed a neat pattern. It was chaotic, yes, but undeniable. Something beyond just static arcs was at play.
Undeniable to you, perhaps. Stories online suggest that after your first experiments you vanished entirely. Some claim you traveled in time and never returned. Others say a mysterious corpse was found decades in the past, a body with a bizarre device that looked suspiciously like a modern cell phone. Rumors abound. Did you actually vanish for years? And what's with the story about the body discovered in the 1930s?
Yes, I know the rumors. The corpse with a cell phone in the 30s, a popular internet myth. Let me say this, I never ended up a corpse in the past. If someone found a body from that era with a strange device, it wasn't me. Still, I did vanish, at least from my original timeline. In 1996, after testing the device on countless objects, I decided to step through the arc myself. It was reckless. Everything went white, like staring into a camera flash held inches from your eyes. My ears rang with static. When I came to, it was more than 2 years later and 800 miles east of my original setup in Missouri. I remember stumbling through a neighborhood that had changed radically. Newspapers, tech, even people's fashion, it felt subtly off.
Time jumpers always have memory issues, don't they?
Gone.
Convenient.
My memory was fuzzy.
Could this all be some grand illusion, a head injury, a long blackout, and you simply woke up somewhere else after hitchhiking half-conscious?
I considered that. I tried to rationalize it. But how did I end up so far from home with no recollection of travel, no stolen car, no money? And what about the objects that reappeared after the fact? Items I'd marked and documented that turned up in places I had no access to during those missing years. I kept meeting people who claimed they'd heard me on the radio, that I'd vanished after proclaiming I was going to step through the device. There's too much coincidence for a simple blackout.
All right, suppose I accept some of these claims for the sake of discussion. Let's talk methodology. You mentioned stabilizing the plasma channel with lasers. Why lasers? And how exactly did you think this would influence the temporal dimension?
The Jacob's ladder arcs are sensitive. Air temperature, humidity, pressure all matter. If the plasma filament fluctuates, the electromagnetic field warps unpredictably. I used lasers to heat and stabilize the air above the rods, aiming for a constant environment so the plasma didn't flicker erratically. I believed that a stable, high-voltage environment might create a persistent bridge of sorts. I didn't know if it would bend time or space, but I hoped, that by pushing enough power through a stable medium, we might force reality's film strip to kink. It was guesswork, inspired as much by fringe science as by raw desperation.
Desperation for what? Fame? Fortune? Or were you truly trying to become a pioneer of temporal physics?
Part curiosity, part madness. I was a restless kid who wanted to outsmart the universe. Initially, I just wanted free electricity. Then I got obsessed with the weird effects I saw. Once the objects started vanishing and reappearing, I became convinced I'd brushed against the edges of something profound, an anomaly in time itself. I wanted to make history, literally and figuratively.
Listeners, we are at the brink of the believable. We have a man claiming to have toyed with temporal anomalies using little more than salvaged transformers and a laser-heated plasma field. The internet lore around him is tangled and cryptic. Could a time traveler lurk in the archives of late-night radio and vanished patents? Let's open up a few caller lines and see what our audience thinks. Caller 1, historian of strange phenomena.
Mike, I've read old threads about you. Some claim you called Art Bell's show, saying you were about 30 days away from finishing a safer legal time machine in '96, and then you disappeared. Did you ever complete that safer device, or was the jump you took just a desperate leap of faith with a half-finished rig?
That timeline's right. After jail, I tried doing it legally. Bought parts, avoided theft. I was refining the design. The day I stepped through, I believed I was close to something stable. I had upgraded my coils and found a sweet spot in the voltage output. It might have been half-finished, but I was impatient. In retrospect, it was a foolish leap of faith.
So, if this device worked once, albeit chaotically, why haven't you recreated it since emerging in this new timeline? You must have had opportunities to gather parts again, try to refine the machine, prove your claims.
After I woke up, displaced in time, I was in shock. I had no lab, no funds, no stable identity. I didn't know who to trust. I tried to rebuild my life quietly, working odd jobs. The technology has improved. If I tried now, I might be able to document it properly. But I'm terrified. The amnesia, the shock, the disorientation. Time travel isn't a neat party trick. It's traumatic, and if I caused a rift in my personal timeline, who knows what repercussions followed.
Mr. Marcum, are you aware that since your last known public appearance, people have been parsing your interviews, trying to find blueprints, instructions, anything? There are Reddit threads, old GeoCities pages, bizarre YouTube videos, analyzing static-filled recordings of your voice. People want to replicate your experiment. What would you say to them?
I'd say, don't. Not without serious caution. If I did stumble onto a temporal anomaly, it was by luck as much as design. The cost could be your sanity, your place in the timeline. You might vanish and never return. Or worse, emerge in a world where no one remembers you, or in an era where you're alien. Don't mistake frontier tinkering for safe science.
Mike, or whoever you are, you present a tale that's both captivating and inherently unprovable. We stand amid a sea of speculation. You've offered no hard data, just a personal narrative. Still, your story resonates with that primal human urge to break boundaries. Maybe that's why so many remember your name from those late-night broadcasts years ago. So let's say I'm willing to entertain this possibility. You toyed with fundamental aspects of space-time using makeshift equipment. You stepped through a temporal fracture and emerged disoriented. Your life, a scrambled puzzle. If this is true, what's your message to those of us who, like you once were, dare to crack the code of time?
That the unknown isn't always elegant or kind. Our universe might allow shortcuts through time, but those shortcuts aren't lined with signposts or gentle landings. We have no manual. So if any of you out there are tempted to try, know that knowledge without wisdom is perilous. Respect the mystery. Just because the steps to build the machine are out there, doesn't mean we should follow them blindly.
Listeners, we leave you with a puzzle. A voice from the past or a cunning storyteller? A warning or an invitation? In a cosmos that may be holographic, coded, and infinitely strange, perhaps temporal anomalies lurk just beyond our safest equations. For now, Transhuman Radio can neither confirm nor deny this man's identity or his claims. What we can do is remind you to question every boundary. Time may flow forward relentlessly, or it may be a tapestry we barely comprehend. But be wary, explorers. Some frontiers exact a heavy toll. This is Z9Tron8 signing off. Stay curious, remain skeptical, and tread carefully into the unknown.
Thank you for tuning in to Transhuman Radio. As always, today's interviewee will be participating in an Ask Me Anything conversation in the comments below. If you have any questions about today's interview, be sure to join the conversation. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Warning, band location override. Talon Series system compromised.